I sold my startup for less than what my investors had put in. Now, the way it worked, the team still did well and I made good money off of it, but like that's not the definition of a successful business.
Because there's a lot of people that have sold their companies for a lot of money. We have a handful of buddies that are like uber rich. No one fucking knows who they are, and like even if they told you that what they did, they'd have to beg to speak at a conference. Whereas guys like you've got like the Daily Show reaching out to you. You've got celebrities reaching out to you who want to like get on board with you. And what I want to know is, you can use the example and then how does someone, I guess I'm asking for myself, because how do you create so much of this like brand equity like you guys have?
Well, I think in both cases, it's basically you put your thoughts on blast. So, they're the real answer. And by the way, I say that not to make fun of the app. I think it did sell for a profit, so good for them. I'm saying I know that I've gotten disproportionate credit for my track record of success, when in reality, like the best thing I've built is this D2C company that I don't tell anybody the name of. That's the profitable business that's doing 8 figures a year, but like that's not actually why my reputation came before that. So, that's kind of weird, right? So where does the reputation actually come from? It comes from 2 things. One is you meet people in real life. So like you go meet, the investors at these different big funds or CEOs of different companies. And when they're talking to you, they're making an independent assessment of your caliber, based on your thoughts. So, right. So first it's like a hand-to-hand combat thing. You meet a bunch of people, you earn their respect one-on-one by when they're talking about some deal they're doing or a company they're building, you actually contribute by adding value, by pointing out things or giving them criticism or giving them feedback on what's really great. Or identifying to them other things that are really cool. And they say, wow, this guy really, I got a lot out of this conversation. So you do that with like 300 people. And those people matter, right? Because they have themselves influence and trust. So for example, like Josh Elman is a good example. This guy was early on at LinkedIn, at Facebook, at Twitter, at Robinhood, like early-ish on, meaning he was like head of growth at a bunch of these companies.
Yeah. He's a big deal. He's been on our podcast.
And so he's got, people have a tremendous amount of respect for him because he's had a tremendous career. Well, both and I have, on separate occasions met with Josh, and when we're talking about our startup and whether our startup succeeded or failed, Josh knows, look, you're playing in the sort of like the startup lottery, startup Olympics. A startup can fail and an entrepreneur can still be really great. And if out of that conversation, Josh walks away thinking, oh, this person's really smart. And then they connect you to some other people that they know. And those people say, wow, Josh, thanks for the intro. Sean was really great. You develop a reputation amongst people who have a reputation. So that's the first step. Through real life interactions, you develop a reputation with people who already have a reputation so that they will retweet your stuff, so that they will vouch for you when you have a project or you're doing something. And that goes a long way in the marketplace. So like, for example, I've had Josh or Balaji or different people who have their own big following and their own respect. If they share me or they say this person's great, then a whole bunch of other people just inherit that reputation. They just say, oh, okay, if Josh says he's great, he's great. If Balaji says he's great, he's great.
It's such a unique way of, it's almost like credibility hacking or something like that.
But that's the thing I think is important is like, I'm telling you how the mechanic works, but there's the thing you can't just, the reason it's not a hack is because your thoughts actually have to be interesting. You have to actually.
I don't mean hack like you're a hack. I just mean like you're getting the desired, the process of getting to the desired outcome.
Right. The second thing is we both created content. So now his tweets are mostly making fun of people who create content and threads and teach courses. But before that, he was doing it himself, right? He himself was saying, when you're building a social app, blah, 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 or here's how we grew inside high schools for TBH. And why did I respect him? Because he released this memo actually got leaked from inside Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
And the memo basically said, he was like, hey, guys at Facebook, here's some of the stuff we did to grow amongst teenagers. And I know Facebook wants to grow amongst teens. Here's some of the stuff we did at TBH. For example, for every high school, we would create an Instagram account branded to the high school. So it'd be like, McKinley High, secrets. And that's the Instagram account. And it would be locked. And we would follow anybody who had McKinley High in their profile. Then they would follow us. 40% of people would follow us back. They would request to follow, but we were private. We wouldn't approve anybody's request. Then at 4 p.m., when everybody got out of school one day, we would accept all the requests. So everybody simultaneously would get a notification about our account. So they would all go check it out. And then they would all see the link to download the app. And then they would download the app. And then as they were downloading the app, they'd get notifications that their friends are all downloading the app today. And it felt like a big deal. And that's how we hacked distribution into high schools. I similarly have told actually a very similar story about how we would go get, our goal was always to get half of a high school to download our app in one day. We did it a completely different way, but I've shared that on podcasts, different places, or on Twitter threads. And people read that and they're like, oh, fuck, this guy's smart. That's a really smart growth tactic. This guy really understands growth. This guy really understands teens. This guy really understands social. And if I, like, it's that quote my buddy Jason Hitchcock told me once. He goes, you say one interesting thing, I say, huh, that's interesting. You say two interesting things, I say, huh, those are interesting. You say three interesting things, I say, fuck, this guy's interesting. And that's really what you got to do with content is you have to, if you say three original interesting things around one topic, whether it's Bitcoin or media or robotics or whatever, if I get three interesting things from you, in my brain, I will assign that tag to you. This guy's interesting, worth watching. And then if other people endorse it and say, this is interesting, it goes even faster.